You're watching Adorama TV.
Hi everybody, welcome to Adorama TV Product Reviews. I'm Mark Wallace. Well, today we're going to talk about this lens right here. It's the Noktor SLR Magic 50mm f/0.95 lens. It's a HyperPrime lens, and it is definitely a specialty lens. It retails for $1,000, and it comes either in a micro 4/3 mount like we have right here, or you can also get this as a Sony E mount. So there's a lot of different options for mounting this to all different types of cameras. Now let's talk about what this lens is built for. It is built to get some really interesting portraits that have this sort of dreamy look to it, so the out of focus background and even more dreamy feel on the actual portrait itself. So it's hard to describe that. So take a look at this image that I shot, and you can see that the image has that sort of Gaussian blur soft feel to it. Now, one of the things that I don't like about this lens is this lens cap. It's metal, which is really cool, but it screws onto the lens, and so taking it off takes a while. And so if you're out in the field and you just want to pop the lens cap on and off, it's sort of a pain to do that. So I hope they just change that in the future. Well, one of the things that you really have to understand is this is a totally manual lens. There are no contacts on the back here, so the lens can't communicate with the camera. And so when you shoot, the metadata is not going to say anything. So you have to write down the aperture values if you want to track those in the future, or just, not care about it. So the focus is fully manual, and setting the aperture value is also manual. You do that with this ring, and there's this little knob here that allows you to move the ring, and then once you get it where you want, then you lock that down. And that's important because if you don't lock it down, it's really easy to bump that and change your aperture value. So I like to lock that in. Now you can see when I point this at the camera that an aperture value of 0.95 means that the aperture just gets totally out of the way. And so that allows the light to sort of bounce around inside the lens and give you that dreamy look that we showed you earlier. But you can also stop this down, so you have you can go all the way to f/16 if you want a greater depth of field or more clarity, more sharpness in your image. And we were able to test this out and shoot some portraits. And what I found was I could get some really interesting looks, but because at the widest opening of the aperture, the depth of field is so shallow that I was in danger of shooting things that were out of focus. In fact, I shot a lot of portraits that were out of focus, not knowing that I was out of focus. So you really have to pay attention to that. So there is a learning curve on this lens. But once I got it dialed in, I really liked the look that I got because that light is sort of bouncing around so much that we get this really dreamy look. Now the other thing that I did was I stopped the lens down, so I shot at about f/11, and you can see here that the images are a little bit more, are a lot more sharp, and we don't have quite the dreamy look, but it's still a very, very unique look. So how does this compare to a lens like a Canon 85mm 1.2 lens? Well, it doesn't really hold up for that type of photography, and it's not supposed to. They're totally different lenses. The Canon, for one thing, is more than double the cost, and the Nikon, the same kind of thing, is more than double the cost. It's a different mount, and so it's really not fair to compare that to those lenses, even though they have a wide aperture. But I would compare this to something like a Lens Baby, because a Lens Baby does give you that sort of dreamy look. And I found with the Lens Baby I had more control than with this lens, and so I could selectively focus a little bit better. And so if you really want to have a lot of control of where the focus is and how that bokeh is applied, then I would go with a Lens Baby. But if you just sort of want this really dreamy look like you see in these photos here, then the Noktor SLR Magic is a great lens for you. So once again, it's the Noktor SLR Magic 50mm f/0.95 lens. It retails for $1,000. It's a very specialized lens, and if you like this look, then this is the lens for you. Well, thanks for joining me this week. Remember, if you have a question about photography gear, please send them to me at AskMark@Adorama.com.
This episode is brought to you by Adorama TV. Visit the Adorama Learning Center, where you'll find photography tips and techniques, links to the gear used in this episode, and related videos. For all the latest photography, video, and computer gear, visit Adorama.com. And the next time you're in New York City, visit our store located on 18th Street between 5th and 6th Avenue.